College football fans, welcome into week 2 preview time. Here at Play the Fight Song, as you can see, a little bit of a different host. We got a guy with a hoarse voice, and he needs it for Saturday. Too big of a diehard. Has to have the voice. Big third downs are imminent in Lincoln, Nebraska this weekend. So, we are here working. Hey, it's like a flu game, kind of, except it's just a voice recovery. It's like a singer on the road, take a day or two off. So
it's closer to a flu game than you think. I think the UTEP Miners got me. A little too many third down yells.
It's possible. It's possible. Hey, well, happy to have everybody back. This is going to be a ton of fun. As you can see, Jake surprisingly not wearing any Iowa State gear. I put the jersey on, a little family Iowa jersey, just because I thought it was appropriate for the week. And Reese, big game this weekend. He's got the Cuse gear on. Parks with the mean green hat actually Parks and Schaefer with a little bit of partner sponsorship here. Little no rivals hat. We got an Espresso Texas State hat. And Parks, you want to talk about your mean green hat? Explain that to the people exactly what it looks like. I know it's a unique color green that you're a big fan of.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to the mean green in North Texas. 1-0. Got a big matchup in Lubbock next week, so look for Chandler Morris to pop off again. But North Texas has a bunch of caps out at our great partners at No Rivals. You can get free shipping. Any hat you purchase at shopnorivals.com, use the code PTFS with free shipping, and you get this just great, majestic looking green. It is better than Marshall's. That is a shot to all the Herd fans. And it's one of the better uniforms in college football. So check out those hats today and get yourself a North Texas cap. I got to get my game day collection one.
It's true. It's true. It's a sharp color. I'm going to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of green, but that's a green I think I can rock. Jake, you have a nice looking hat on as well. We did a preview earlier in the week. You want to talk about what we did for the Iowa State fans and just college football fans across the country with our perspective on that game?
Yeah, he's not going to realize it, is he? Nope.
Oh, for the century.
Come on, Jake.
Mute button gets me early. Mute button gets me early. Yeah, no, if you're jumping into your some Cyhawk talk, we actually have a great 1 hour fan perspective video. If you look
struggling.
If you look below, but we're getting there. We're trying a new setup here, so we're gonna.
We're working through it.
Battling through it.
I still have the receipt on the fridge, so
that's a good call.
We're gonna roll here. I'm more meant for a podcast, so if it doesn't, you
got a face for podcasting, Shape is what they tell you.
Yeah, listen to a podcast. So,
is it as bad for everybody else? Let me be very clear here.
I mean, see it on mine.
It looks a little glitchy.
It's not moving.
It's definitely the phone trying its best. It's trying its best.
Is my audio at least keeping up?
Yeah.
It's kind of like if I'm watching Squid Games for the first time and I have the English language on, where it's just not matching up, where the voice is coming through, but it's just not going with your face.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting anyway.
It's a real possibility. Jake, I really respect you trying to make it all look a lot prettier. And it looks a lot prettier. You look a lot.
Your eyes look great.
Yeah.
It's dreamy. Some might say dreamy.
Reese, let's talk about your upcoming weekend here. We got Syracuse, Georgia Tech, two teams that are feeling good about this year. One that's feeling really good after a couple wins in a row, and a Cuse team that kind of ran away from Ohio late. You're going to be there, if I remember right?
Yep, I will be there. I got tickets. Shout out, Syracuse University. They do a thing every year where they give away free tickets to soldiers. They appreciate us, so we appreciate them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So I'm going down there with a buddy and his family. And then they have free tickets for like the UConn game and the Holy Cross game too. So I'm taking advantage of those. But yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I actually I tailgated the spring game. There was nobody else out there tailgating. So I'm going to talk shit to a bunch of people out there. Like, where were you when we were scrimmaging ourselves? But I'm super excited for it. It's supposed to be nice weather this weekend. Actually tailgate, be with some people that I know. And it's also just going to be a hell of a game too.
How about a high of like 68, I think, this weekend, Parks? I don't know if it's a similar for you to Lincoln.
Yeah, I think I saw a high of 75, and we were cooking in there last week. It was like 89, but in that stadium, in that bowl, it's so old that it just bakes in there like an oven. So I'm looking forward to 75. Hopefully I can get the throat cleared up to give some third down calls and some nice weather. But the weather change, Reese, that's what's getting me. It's the weather change.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all about the stuff in the air, man. It's all sciencey stuff. Jake, how are we feeling? Are you feeling a little better down there?
I don't know. Do I look better? Do I look like?
Yeah, you look so much better.
All right. Well, okay. We got Mike out of this, so I got a little lighting, little mic, just maybe the camera has to work on this Best Buy purchase. the mic works, we'll make this episode.
I hate to be the bearer of
Mike
bad news. Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
You
a little
just
crackly.
Now that mic is cutting out.
Now I'm cracking.
Live show.
Wait a second. What does anybody
You would think that this is the
what's
most
going on in Jake's
professional.
camera? What does it say
Probably
down
you.
there? Does that say camo?
Yeah, that's like that's an app. That's the app I was.
Oh, you didn't pay.
Boise
Oh,
State.
come on. They ain't paying you. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. Hey,
I,
we got.
I wish I
enemy.
could. I don't know what to do. I'm lost now.
We gotta get. We
Guy
gotta
is,
get back on the
guy
rails
is
here.
confused.
We are all over the place. Hey, it's
Decided to
professional
switch it up.
production, as you can tell, and we like really put hours and hours. And there's a whole team of about 30 guys behind us that put all this together. So blame them, not the 4
My
guys
guy's
on
over there.
screen. We have a ton of games we're going to get to, including Texas, Michigan, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, NC State, Tulane, Kansas State, Kansas, Illinois, Boise State, Oregon, Appalachian State, Clemson. Yes, that's a long list. Full previews on most of them. A couple of them we just want to talk about aspects of the game and make it a little shorter that you need to know, because I know you're going to have a TV on this one this weekend. So before we do that, though, we got a hat on. We talked about them a little bit before. What is that code that these people can use when they go to shopnorivals.com to get some free shipping if they want whatever school possible?
Yeah,
from them.
We're about to talk about some schools that are available on our good partner, No Rivals, shopnorivals.com. So check that out today. Use the code PTFS. It's free shipping, covers the cost. So you know what you're paying right at the front. You got to pay a little bit to Uncle Sam. So be it. We can't help you there. But we got your shipping covered. PTFS at shopnorivals.com. I think we're going to lead it off, JP. I don't want to take your job here, but Oklahoma State, what we're going to lead off with, they are available on Shop No Rivals as well as Arkansas.
sure
They have
are.
an
I love
NIL
those
cap on
spots.
there. Yes.
We're going to lead this thing off with Arkansas, Oklahoma State. The Hogs will travel to Stillwater to play the Cowboys here in Boone Pickens, 11 a.m. Central Time, ABC. This one's just over a touchdown in favor of the Pokes. Shafe, we're going to give this mic a shot here. I know this is your game in a lot of aspects. You sent us a picture of a really cool T-shirt some Oklahoma State fans are talking about. Let's talk about this game, because I feel like we know these programs a little better than maybe the average college football fan. Maybe not insider stuff, but I feel like we're real prepped for this one.
Yeah, is this my game or as a podcast? You know, this is like our de facto game. Like these are two of our de facto teams if we ever adopted one. I've been to both places, so I guess I could adopt it myself. But I feel like as Play the Fight song, we're pretty stoked to watch this matchup. And honestly, you know, as a Big 12 fan that I am, I'm really interested in a lot of questions kind of lay around both teams right now. Yes, did Arkansas look good last week? I will say, yeah, they scored 10 out of 10 possessions. Obviously, that's good no matter who you're playing. For those who didn't watch the football game, let's just say they were playing maybe an NAIA level football team, because honestly, on the offensive and defensive line, I'm not sure if some of those Arkansas Pine Bluff guys weighed more than 250 pounds. The size was alarming. So I'm excited about the possibility of what Jaquindon Jackson and Taylor Green can be in the backfield for that team, because I think Bobby Petrino is going to scheme up something really exciting. That I have no doubt about. But now we're really going to find out. And Vegas is catching on, man. This was, I think it opened 10, maybe 9.5. Yep. It's on to 7.5 for the Hogs being an underdog going into Stillwater this weekend. So also fascinating. You look at the other side, man. Oklahoma State looked really good. I thought they handled South Dakota State teams, underperformed against FCS, and Oklahoma State didn't against the best one in the country in the FCS world. So that being said, I know more what I see out of Oklahoma State just because of how much production they bring back, what I know I'm going to get out of Ollie Gordon, whereas this Arkansas team was just a flash in the pan against a really bad team right now. But they could surprise us. They could show up, and there's no doubt in my mind there's a possibility Arkansas could win this football game.
Absolutely. I think we look at Stillwater, though, and it's how good is Oklahoma State up front. Like, they looked really good against a really good FCS team that's traditionally good in the trenches. Can you do it against another Power 4 opponent? Now, I understand that Arkansas has its question marks on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, especially in the trenches and spots. It's just going to be a lot of Ollie Gordon. If this offense can really find a way to run the ball well, they're not going to stray away from it. they don't feel like they're going to put Alan Bowman in a situation to really mess up or throw picks or give the ball away because they're going to move the football with their run game. Parks, when you look at this one, let's go to the Arkansas side. If you're Taylor Green, what has to happen on offense? Like Schaefer talked about Petrino and scheming things open, but Taylor Green's got to show us something here, right?
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen enough from him yet. I don't think, Jake, you did it enough justice of how bad a football team Arkansas Pine Bluff was. Like, JP, you could start at quarterback for them. I mean, they're terrible. Taylor Green, he threw up a couple passes last week that were just into triple, double coverage. I think one of the first passes he threw in that game went right through the middle of an Arkansas Pine Bluff defender. So you have to avoid those situations, because if you find yourself in a turnover battle in Boone Pickens, which is going to be a place that's ready to go, then you're going to find yourself in a really bad spot. I think if they're heavy on the run game, try and win the time of possession, it could be one of those slower paced games, especially with the new rules. I mean, you got two good running threats on both sides of the matchup here. Ollie Gordon, I expect that him and the O-line can do a little bit of damage when it comes to both the clock and the scoreboard. I really think Mike Gundy, he's played in games like this before. I don't think we're giving him enough credit for last week. I mean, you look at Colorado, they compete with a brand new branded North Dakota State team, but you're talking about the FCS National Championship appearance, South Dakota State team that Oklahoma State handled with ease.
Absolutely.
And it was mad impressive. Like, if you're not a guy who watches FCS football, you wouldn't think twice about it. But with what that program does and how South Dakota State can run the football, you also got to think highly a little bit of Oklahoma State's defensive front. So I think they get the best of them in this matchup.
Yeah, I like something you said there. Lower possession feels what I got on this one too.
Yeah.
Like, run the football if you're Oklahoma State. If you can keep the big plays, from Taylor Green, really get a shot downfield for an extended period of time. Like, this is going to have a lower possession field and two teams that maybe going to scheme runs open for, good running backs and quarterbacks that on the Arkansas side that can move around. And Taylor Green at Bowman's not as much of a threat on the ground, but they have shown the ability to run some draws and some powers with him inside the red zone. Reese, going down to you. When you look at this game and these two brands and where they stand right now this season and with the expectations they had of the season, is there anything that would surprise you? Anything on this game in particular? If this happened, that would be shocking.
I think the most shocking thing would be if Arkansas's defense is able to take away Ollie Gordon in that offensive line. I think that's going to be a lot of teams' game plan this year if they're going to play Oklahoma State, is try to make them one-dimensional, and that dimension is not Ollie Gordon running the football. It's trying to make Alan Bowman beat you. So I think if Arkansas's defense were to show up and limit Oklahoma State's effective run game, I think that would be the big shock for me, because I don't think Arkansas's run defense is that solid. Plus, being in Boone Pickens, I think is a huge help here too. I think if it's in Fayetteville, I think it's the line's maybe a little bit smaller, and I think I like Arkansas a little more in that spot. But if you're like things that would just kind of shock me, I think Arkansas's defense being able to stop Ollie Gordon is the thing that would. If I stepped back, I'd be like, okay, maybe Arkansas is a little different than we thought this year.
Mm-hmm. Jake, do you think Oklahoma State's receivers get the respect they deserve?
Don't ask the Big 12 homer.
I think they're starting to catch on. I mean, Owens and Stribling are two really good options. He's a nice option as well. They're all they all kind of feel undersized to me. I mean, they're fine. It's more so like, can we rely on the quarterback of who's going to get them the football? I'm not so sure how much those three receivers can really create separation. Like, I don't know how many one-on-one battles those guys can win.
That's fair. I just looking at this one, then we'll go all the way around here for predictions. For the bet board, actually, we'll be on the bet board for this one as well as just giving a score prediction here. Obviously, don't hold anything to us on the score prediction. We're just thinking spread here. We're going to use 7.5, I believe. Parks is what we're going to run with. We're going to run with 7.5. 7.5 is what I see in other places as well. Looking at this game, Maurice, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts, your prediction in your ATS board pick for this game.
Because you also talk about how the line has moved to. Well, the over-under's also moved up, I think, about 3 or 4 points since it originally opened up. So I think that's kind of something to consider as well, too. I think with it being at Boone Pickens, I think is a really big X factor here. I'm leaning Oklahoma State in this spot. The spread is tough. I really don't mind. I just like that defense on Arkansas is a big question mark. I think offensively they might be able to do some stuff. But I just don't know if defensively they're going to be able to do as much as you need them to cover this number. I'll take Oklahoma State in this spot. Give me 34-20.
That's absolutely insane.
34
come
to
on.
20. Gotcha.
That's
34-20.
absolutely insane. Put me
What?
right on the back of Reese. I'm riding with him because I have the exact
go.
score written down here. I can show you 34-20. Give me Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State doesn't get enough credit. Don't you guys feel like all of a sudden you watch these highlights at the end of the year of Oklahoma State and they're busting big plays at home,
Yep.
mostly in Bedlam or something like that? Like, it's a big play team, and this is an Arkansas team that struggled giving up the big play last year. So you got to think that they're going to have a couple of those. You hit that fucking nail right on the head, Reese. 34-20
Hey,
pokes,
brother,
baby.
right here.
I like that.
Absolutely. Hey, Shafe, I took some bullets last week for the fellas to have a good week on the board. I obviously did not have one of those weeks on the board, but I want you to go first. I'm not saying if you go a certain way, I have to go the other way just to let you guys win, but your ATS board pick with the number at 7.5 the way it is.
Yeah, I got to keep this perfect record going, don't I? And this feels like a tough game to. This feels like a tough game to really decide. Like, this is going to make or break my winning streak. I'm just going to say if we're going to keep it at 7.5, I think Oklahoma State wins by 10. And they're going to cover. I just trust Oklahoma State more in this spot at home.
I believe 3.
Save us, Jordan.
Yeah, 3. I can't. I did it last week. I literally ate the board, killed me. Like, it kicked me while I'm down, curd stomp. Like, it was rough. I'm gonna go Oklahoma State here too. I think I'd rather go to die on a hill with a really good offensive line, the best running back in the country, and a team that's more proven and veteran than I am riding with Taylor Green. Even though I think they'll have chances to score points here, I'm thinking more like if I'm going lower scoring here, I'm thinking like 27. 17, like just 10 points. Okay. There's just not enough possessions to get up into the 30s for these two schools. So that's what we have across the board. Oklahoma State minus a 7.5. Cowboy does agree, confirmed actually.
Cowboy.
Wait till the dog's dog, Cowboy. Wait till the dog's dog. That's good for branding.
Yeah, shocker. This guy's barking when it's time. But that's that one. Stillwater is always a fun place to watch a football game. Turf looks beautiful, with 2 teams with great logos as well. We're going to go on to the next one. Kansas State and Tulane. This one actually has potential, I would say, to be one of the more exciting games of the weekend and one of the more underrated games on the schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Yet, here, basically year to date in this. So 11 a.m. Central, Kansas State at Tulane. So this is going to be like Ole Miss a couple years ago when they went to Tulane. Kansas State, though, breaking in a new quarterback in a place that's feeling really good about their program, even after the loss of Willie Fritz. They break John Summerall in, who's a great head coach as well. Identity might change a little bit, but Tulane still has playmakers all over the place. Let's start with Reese. Do you have anything on Kansas State and Tulane? What are your thoughts on this one? And is Kansas State legit? Or are we about to find out?
I think it's similar to, when they brought in Troy last year, I believe it was. It's, if you're bringing in a good program, not just bringing any slap G5 team. They're going to be challenged. And this Kansas State team, it's also, this is the real test. We're going to see what Avery Johnson's like, and that backfield is going to be like. You brought in Dylan Edwards, and Giddens is there again this year. So is that backfield going to be pretty solid? Because we know everybody's high on Avery Johnson, but this is kind of going to be his first test to see what it's like. I like him in this spot, especially you're getting him, even if it is on the road. I just think there's a lot of hype around this K-State team for a good reason. You're going in, you just mentioned their coach from Tulane, great guy. I think they're going to be just fine this year, but I think K-State early in the year is going to be a bit of a challenge for them, but it'll be a good test for them to see what their program is going to be like. But I think I lean K-State in this spot.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, really good coaching hire out of Tulane after losing Willie Fritz. Jake, you, again, Big 12 game. I mean, let's talk about Kansas State, a team a lot of people have picked to win the Big 12. And let's talk about Tulane, a team that I said is going to be better than expected and actually picked to get to the American Conference title game. What are your thoughts on these two teams and how they match up? I feel like this is more with the hire of Summerall. It's going to be the same style. I mean, just button heads here.
Butting heads, but honestly, you probably give the receiver edge to Tulane because of Mario Williams and how good he can be. Had over 150 yards last week. If you're unfamiliar with who that is, the USC transfer, he's going to be really good. He's the best receiver on the field. Big 12 wise, man, there's a lot of big games for the conference this weekend, but this could be the most important just for identity and the way that everybody perceives the Big 12, because you're basically co-favorite to win the conference, can't go on the road to a G5 and slip up. It just can't. It can't happen. There's a couple of P4 matchups in the conference that they're playing in another conference that might be okay. But if you're Kansas State and you're the Big 12, this can't happen if you want any sort of chance for an at-large bid in the 12-team playoff down the road. I love the running back matchup in this spot, though. Mekhi Hughes for Tulane, also a stud, rushed for over 100 yards last week, and everybody knows about DJ Giddens. I think DJ Giddens versus John Summerall defense, surprisingly, will have a good day. I think he's just bigger. I think he's stronger, and I think he's going to match up well against that defense.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be better for Tulane when you look at it. How about the quarterback, though? Parks, let's talk about the quarterback matchup. This is a big one here, too.
I'll be interested to see what Tulane does at the quarterback position because you got a lot of Darian Mensah last week. But I wonder if you're going to get some Ty Thompson packages in here to, again, expose that run game with Mekhi Hughes. I think that's where Tulane can take advantage against this K-State front. It's going to be tough because they're not bad by any means. There's a reason they're picked towards the top of the conference. But it is definitely worth a discussion that Ty Thompson could see valuable playing time within this matchup. And it's a Tulane place that kind of slipped away against Ole Miss last year. They had another Power 4 opponent come in, and they lost that one in the closing minutes of that game. So you got another opportunity here to make some noise against a really good team and start to create your argument for your college football playoff group of 5 bid. And it's a very important week for the Green Wave.
Yeah, Avery Johnson, I mean, this isn't the easiest road game to start your career, but I definitely don't think it's also the most daunting. I think you just need to be ready to go. It's right in the middle where you're going to
not going to Utah.
He did he started in Lubbock last year. This is not his first road game.
No, but this is
he's got that for him.
The first one
in JP's defense. In JP's defense, an Abilene Christian quarterback threw for 500 yards in Lubbock last week. So is that as daunting as we think?
I'm
this
just
is
going
last
off of
year.
but the hype wasn't there for him. They knew he wasn't going to be the starter. He might start a couple here and there, but this is you're the guy. You can't lose these kind of football games. You're now going to Tulane. That's no pushover, right? I mean, you could be Texas. I don't
want to play Tulane
playing at Michigan in week 2, or Nico playing an NC State team. I know that's a neutral site. We'll get to that later. But when you look at Tulane, we talked about the running backs, and I think that is just paramount here. Find a way to be a climbing team that's always good defensively and solid in the front 7. If you can do that, you can open things on the outside. Maybe it's not vertical passing threats, but it's sideline to sideline. They ran for over 240 last week. I understand Southern or Southeastern Louisiana is not a good football team, and it's an FCS situation. But if we can get to 150, 160, you're going to feel really good about yourself if you're Tulane. Also, the one thing I would say is the Ty Thompson, only threw 4 balls last week. I think they're pretty comfortable with what they're rolling with right now. And I wouldn't be shocked to see some packages for him and find some ways to get him in and involved. But if you're feeling good about yourself and you look good last week, I'm not sure much changes there. So let's start on predictions here. I believe was this line at 5? I thought it was up at about 8.
I thought it was 8 or 9. I was going to ask that.
It's all over the place.
I looked at FanDuel today. It's at 9.5.
8.5 is what I have live right now. This is via ESPN Bet. This would have come in 2 nights ago. Yeah, this is when these were made. So
yeah, let's rock with 8.5. We get a hook there on a dirty number at 8.5 that nobody really wants if you are taking the team minus 8.5. But first, we're going to start with you. Kansas State at Tulane. Again, 2 really good looking uniforms, 2 great programs, 2 really good coaches. What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it kind of reminds you of Ole Miss going in there, and I think they're going to put up a pretty solid fight. I think Tulane will be good, but I just think K-State, with everything got going for them, they're just going to have a lot behind them. Go in there and handle the business. Give me K-State 28-17.
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Parks, up to you for this one.
Yeah, so when I took a look at the score, I was trying to think of the run game, which you guys already hit on a ton, but the Giddens and Johnson read option and RPO combo could be the death of Tulane this week. And I think that's what they're going to do 90% of the time. And it's just going to be too much. I don't think it's a big enough atmosphere. It would have helped if it was 5 years ago in the Superdome, if you filled that place up. But give me K-State. I think there's too much firepower on the offensive side of the ball, too much experience within that system. And Johnson got valuable reps last year. So give me K-State in this one, 28-14.
Jake, you feel pretty confident with Kansas State as you were kind of talking. Is that changing with your pick?
It is changing. These are crappy. We're getting some bad lines this week after
some numbers that force people.
You feel way better at 5.
We had a lot of 3s and 2.5s last week.
Yeah. Vegas they're figuring it out a little bit already early. I'm going to go Tulane. I think Tulane loses still, but they cover the number. I
Yeah.
think they really like the
Thanks,
Mensah
bud.
kid. I mean, we might see Ty Thompson. I just don't know how much, but maybe if
Mhm.
Kansas State gets after him defensively early, we're going to see Thompson early just because of how much dual threat he can add, and they try to mix it up a little bit. But I'm a little concerned with how good Kansas State's defense can be against Tulane.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, it's completely fair. You don't have to do anything though, Parks, because I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take plus 8.5. I think Tulane stays in this one. The new way they're playing football, I think they are better defensively than what people give them credit for now. There's now a defensive mind into that room at the head coaching position. I think it just stays close. I'm not saying this team is going to, real threaten late, but I think they stay within a score most of the game, and it's just tougher for Kansas State to pull away. Maybe they get up 14 and it's just a late touchdown by Tulane to kind of make it closer. It just stays within 10. So if it's going to stay within 10, it's staying within 10.5. So I'm going to go with Tulane there as well. So 2-2 split. I believe that's one of the first ones. First one of the episode. The last one was a clean sweep.
Yep.
First 2-2. We had a couple last week. That did not work out for me. I'm hoping to be on the other side of that on the ATS board this week. Let's jump to probably the biggest game of the weekend and could have some real college football playoff implications going down the road.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
It
probably.
is.
Yeah,
It's the biggest.
depends.
It's the biggest game of the weekend.
Okay, it's the biggest game of
Sorry.
the weekend, or it has college football playoff implications. Jake, which one do you want to poke fun at? All right.
Listen, just both.
If we're going to get to my Michigan opinions later, so that's why I'm saying it might not. Texas travels to the Big House to play Michigan at 11 a.m. Central. Big noon kickoff. Texas -7. It's been all over the place. Michigan got in a real battle with Fresno State last week. And Texas, they handled a pretty darn good Colorado State team that's supposed to be much improved in the Mountain West this year.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Ewers, another week 2 really tough road game in a good environment against a good team. I just want to know thoughts. I think this is crazy that Texas is going on the road week 2 twice against 2 really good, really talented football teams. I want to start it off with Parks. You can go here, whatever you want to start with, whether that's Texas, Michigan, or just the matchup in general.
Yeah, what a matchup to give yourself. And I assume these are one of those, you schedule them 5 years ago, non-conference games. You're in the Big 12. You want to go play Michigan. And then all of a sudden, you're finding yourself in the SEC, and you don't really need to do this. But I think they're catching Michigan at a good time because there's a lot of question marks around the fill-ins for that team of what they lost of that national championship squad. I think the defensive back matchups in this one are really interesting to look at. Obviously, you got one of the best defenders in college football in Will Johnson. But who are you going to cover else on the outside? You got Jonte Cook, who had a big week last week for Texas, and Wingo. Like, those guys are going to make an impact. And it's that defensive front at Michigan is still elite, man. Like, this defense could make them a contender again alone, but the offensive question marks and what we saw from Texas last week against a really good passing attack with Fowler Nicolosi and Torrey Horton, you got to think they took a step forward because they already faced a pretty good passing offense and handled them really well. So I do like Texas off the rip on this one. Hopefully I hear more from Jake on the Longhorns because I think he's got a little bit of a hatred towards the Horns for leaving his conference and making him a G6.
I actually don't want to go to Jake here, though. I want to wait on his opinion.
Shut up,
I noticed,
Jake.
I feel like you got real opinions on this game and these two teams. I just want to rebuttal.
I got another opinion.
With you. That's okay.
You guys,
go ahead.
Since we
always got
brought it up twice, like,
okay,
can I start the Jay Norvell hot seat train? I was absolutely flabbergasted.
I mean, you're the only guy that's been on it the last 2 years.
Second little homer.
It's just the biggest piss poor performance I've seen out of the Rams, and I've watched some bad games. I mean, Fowler Nicolosi throwing for 60 yards. 60 yards.
It's not in that offense. That's not supposed to happen.
Sorry. Let's continue. Stay on this game.
Reese, down to you. When you're looking at this game, it's not at night. It's at 11 a.m. It's big noon. The atmosphere is going to be insane in Ann Arbor. Is there anything that really sticks out to you on this matchup?
Don't overreact to week 1. I mean, Michigan did have the struggles offensively, but I think the big thing too is you can't make assumptions, but you can make observations. I mean, Michigan, they only ran the ball for 148 yards on 38 rushes on offense. And then, I mean, we know Fresno State's a good team, but like that's pretty noticeable. I mean, this was their bread and butter last year. They ran the ball how many times straight against Penn State, who's a much better team. So I think you make that observation that offensively, they're going to if they're struggling to find their identity, you don't want to struggle week 2 against Texas at home. I mean, that's just not a spot you want to be in. And I just think too, I mean, defensively, that line of scrimmage was dominant, but Keene still threw for 235 yards. He had a touchdown. He had 2 picks. One was pretty bad. and then one he's just trying to make a risk on. But you're telling me Quinn Ewers is not going to do as good as he did, or he's going to do worse with the weapons he has? I got a lot of faith in Texas in this spot, even if you are going on the road. We saw what they did last year at Alabama. That's Nick Saban, Alabama, too. So I just don't know if offensively Michigan really has their identity yet. And I think that's going to be their Achilles heel in this game. So I like Texas in this spot.
Who's going to
Now
run
I'll
on
go
the tunnel? Is it Alex Orji or is it Davis Warren? Seriously.
Yeah, you
Warren.
don't know who
I
your
was thinking
quarterback is
Davis
playing
Warren as well.
Texas?
It'll be Davis.
I think they do. They just
I don't see.
it was weird last week. It didn't make any sense. The rotations, the way they were working things, how everything came out of camp, nothing really made sense.
What about
So
Michigan
behind
fans?
the scenes, maybe?
What's going around that fan base? If you're a Michigan fan and you're in the comments, would you rather have Orji in there or Davis Warren? I mean, that name just came out of nowhere last week to me, and he wasn't that impressive.
I
Jake.
know some of the big national guys were kind of on Warren. I know that apparently he did well enough in camp. I mean, we've kind of known about Alex Orji and his inabilities to throw the football, and it clearly hasn't gotten better, or I don't really know. Are we, that's the question, are we one just horrendous Mikey Keene pick six away from being this maybe almost even
That's a
8 or 9
23-17, right?
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
that was a bad ball, man.
an 8 or 9 point spread? You know, if he doesn't throw that and they even get a field goal or a touchdown out of it, it's a completely different
Yeah.
game. Will Johnson read it the whole way, and he was just stuck to it. He was just going to throw it. So that also brings up the question. Obviously, I think Michigan played a much superior Mountain West team compared to Texas, but also on the other side, I thought Texas defense was really good. They ranked 6th in defensive efficiency according to ESPN. I think that this is a good team. They got 0 sacks last week that Texas did. So for how weird they played so well on defense, they didn't really get to the quarterback too much. So can you get after Davis Warren? I think they're going to give him trouble. Man, like Texas's offensive line, Michigan's line is just get your popcorn ready. The sound is
All right, Jake.
We're losing him again.
Yeah, you're fidgeting a little bit. I understand where you're going. I'll stay. I have a little point on the interiors here, but how much better does Michigan's offensive line looks against the revamped Texas defensive line? I think was where you're going with that, and then vice versa, right? Well, let's start with the Michigan's offensive line. That really, Reese, you pointed it out with the amount of carries he got. Donovan Edwards and the rest of that run game didn't look that great. And also, if we're going to worry about running the football, Alex Orji gives you the best shot at another weapon in the run game. I mean, he's a freak athlete and he's built like he could be a really good running back at some spots, but he plays quarterback. It's just, can he throw the football? I think Texas, with the loss of Sweat and everything they had last year, revamped it. It's not as star-studded, but it is still really good. So now you have to push around bodies that are the same size as you and national title level talented. So that's a big question mark for me, is how much better does the Michigan O-line look in 1 week? On the flip side, I think there's an incredible point to be made that this defensive front for Michigan is literally just as good, if not better, than it was a season ago. Mason
100%.
Graham and some other spots, like they are that good. Texas is one of those teams on the offensive line. Now, there's not going to be like the names that are sitting, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3 at tackle, but these are guys who are legitimately good enough to block anybody in the country. So now this is the first time I feel like Michigan has seen a front that can block them since Ohio State. That was the last offensive line, and Michigan found ways to win that football game and really get to the quarterback still. So it's going to be interesting on that side. That's where I think Jake's point was going, is that the interior for Michigan versus a Texas offensive line who didn't run the ball well, like also Jake was saying last week. Here's my biggest point on this one, though. Somebody touched on Will Johnson as well as Isaiah Bond. I said Isaiah Bond versus Will Johnson on the edge, but what about, who's covering Amari Niblack? Who's covering Bolden? All these guys, like, I feel like there's too many weapons for Texas, and they have one of the better quarterback distributors in the country to get them the football. Man, if I'm a Michigan fan, I don't think I'm that worried because the defense is that good. The run game is supposed to be good, but if the run game isn't as good as it was, like if that's the best it gets, is like a little better than last week, I'm getting worried, and I'm getting worried fast, because now you have to throw the football on a defense at Texas that has a good secondary and a good defense overall. Well, something's got to give here. Like, you're either going to get better at it. It was just week 1 jitters, which Reese said again, don't overreact to week 1, but you can make observations. my observation is that this team is just not as good as it's made out to be. And I'm scared and I'm wondering if it's even a top 5 team in the Big Ten this year, just with the way it's laid out. You can be a really good elite defense. You watch it with my team every year. Elite defense.
We're talking about Iowa
and a horrible offense. Yes. They're not, obviously not Iowa bad on the offensive side, but my goodness, like it worries me. And this is one that would worry me because it has a team on the other side that can match them in every aspect and is better than them in some aspects. You give a running back edge to Michigan with the Texas injuries. You obviously give a quarterback edge and an offensive line edge to Texas. I think you give them a better, I think there's just things that Texas does better. So with that, I know Jake is having some Wi-Fi issues. Apologies on that, but it's just something we deal with. Again, there's 30 guys behind us in a truck.
Battle through it.
They're supposed to be setting all of it up. It's a whole thing. It's just a massive production. So we're going to go around the horn here. 7 is your number. Are we going to play 7? We're going to play 7 or 7.5 because 7 gets gross. We can play 7 though.
We can play 7.
Let's play 7 flat.
7 might be better for
Texas
a graphic.
-7 in the big house in Ann Arbor. Reese, we're going to start with you. Your last thoughts, your pick on the ATS board.
I just don't think Michigan has the deep threats, and if that offensive line is going to struggle like they do, I just don't think this offense is going to keep up. I think they're still going to get theirs because they're going to be at home, but I really like Texas in this spot. I'll take Texas at 34. Give me Michigan at 17. I think they're going to handle them fine.
That is a lot of points on a really good defense, I might add. Parks, up to you.
Yeah, I would say pretty much the same thing, but I got a way lesser scoring. I do think it comes down to whether or not Gibson and Blue can get going on the ground. I don't think with already what we've talked about, they can do that against the defensive front of Michigan. So I got this one in a closer matchup. I'm going to say 24-21, Texas escapes game-winning field goal.
Perfect. Okay, I like it. Getting really close, getting really tight there. Jake, to you, 1-1 so far. We got Parks on Michigan on the board and Reese on Texas.
Yeah, let's hope the Wi-Fi can keep up and I can get my pick in.
He sounds new.
This is the best you've sounded all night.
I like.
Yeah, I got some app issues. I'm about to run to Best Buy after this and raise some real hell. That being said, if it's gonna stay at 7, give me Texas. If it
Texas,
gets up to a half,
we're playing
really
7.
if you're gonna get me with the hook, all right, the Texas.
No, we're playing 7.
Siete.
I'm going to also take Texas. This is not my favorite play of the week, but it is one of my favorite plays. I feel that confident in this team. In a crazy situation where, again, week 2, we got to go on the road. You're Texas. Let's prove some people wrong. This Michigan team is not Alabama last year. I know Alabama was reeling in some spots, and we just found out their issues. Michigan seems to have bigger issues. Give me Texas. I'm going to go 24-10. Just nothing's going to get rolling. I think Michigan runs the ball, runs out of possessions, and just can't get the ball pushed downfield. So Texas there. 3 on Texas. Parks the lone wolf there on Michigan.
You're
Everybody
welcome.
say thank you, Parks. 1, 2, 3.
Shout out,
Thanks,
Parks.
There we
You're
go.
welcome.
Perfect. Let's go down to the next one. This one will be a little bit of a quicker one. Cal, Auburn. I talked a lot about Cal in our outside Pac-12, our ACC preview this year. When I was breaking them down, they now go to Jordan Hare after hosting them a season ago in Berkeley. 2:30 ESPN2. Auburn -13. Probably haven't heard a lot about Auburn after week 1, but I can tell you Cam Coleman's still the real deal, and Auburn still is getting better and better and better. Jake, to you on this one. Again, quicker preview, so if you have a couple points you want to talk on, and then give me your ATS board pick, and we'll roll down the line.
Yeah, just keep a lookout for it. In the press conference, Jaden Ott was listed as probable. Maybe that's coach speak. I don't know, but it's something to keep an eye on if you're betting this football game. I think Jordan Mendoza is going to be the guy at quarterback. Rogers got a little bit of spin for Cal last week, but I think Mendoza's their guy. The Auburn receivers.
You say Jordan Mendoza?
Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza. There you go.
Jordan
Only
Mendoza.
human.
Way cooler name.
I was thinking you're thinking Jordan Hare, but
There is a Jordan Mendoza out there. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought what I did think was Auburn's receivers last week were really, really good. Keandre Lambert-Smith and Cam Coleman both had combined 3 touchdowns. I think they're going to be a problem. I think that Auburn is going to light the world on fire in Jordan Hare. And Peyton Thorne actually looked okay.
Shout out Peyton Thorne.
I think he's going to be good enough to get this defense for Cal. So
perfect. So you got Auburn here, ATS board.
Yeah, we're 13. That's fine.
13. Yep. 13.
Yep.
Perks up to you on this one. If you want to talk a little bit on it, if you just want to do ATS board, pick your choice. Your voice is the one that shot.
Yeah, for one of the teams that we have talked about year to year going back to or getting back to what they want to be in Auburn, could you ask for a better Power 4 non-con matchup than this? I mean, Cal rolling in, it's an offensive firepower team that couldn't get a stop last year. I think Auburn rolls in this spot. I do like the running back battle. I hope Ott plays because Jarquez Hunter versus Jade Knott is must-see TV, but I do think Auburn in Jordan Hare rolls on this one.
Yep. Reese, to you.
Say if Jayden's not playing, Cal ran the ball 38 times last week for 102 yards. That's just something to notice. And they played UC Davis. UC Davis. So you're going to Jordan Hare and you're playing the Auburn Tigers now. So if that's going to be an issue. Yeah, like Park said, I think there's just a lot of Auburn in this one, especially where it's at. Give me Auburn in this spot. I think they handle them no problem.
Perfect. I'm going to go do the same thing. I think there's just too many weapons, and this is not a Cal team and Justin Wilcox whose defense is leading the charge. It's the offense. So now if there's question marks in your playmakers and you're going to Jordan Hare, who has a good defense and a quarterback who's not going to turn it over, and all of a sudden weapons on the outside, watch out. War Eagle might have something to say about this one. To the next one here, Kansas, Illinois, similar situation. Something quick if you want to talk on it. This number's 5. Kansas minus 5, and Champaign, Illinois, into the house of pain they go, or so they call it. Can't be that terrifying if this is the wrong Memorial Stadium to be scared of. Jake, let's start with you though. Or Parks, you want to go? I mean, I just made.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Somebody go.
Yeah, well, let's just get it going. No, Kansas is looking to repeat last year because they really handled Illinois when they came in. I believe that was that early on It was maybe a Friday night they played, I think. Yeah. And it was Kansas ugly handled them again. I like the way Kansas looked last week in Children's Park or whatever that soccer stadium was. So going on the road in a not tough environment, I don't think people talk enough about how Illinois really gets no fan support. They start off the year with a decent win. They did get off to a slow start. I think Altmaier looks like he's developed maybe a bit further, but to stop the weapons on the offensive side of the ball for Kansas, Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal, I don't think Illinois' rush defense can do it. So I like Kansas in this spot again.
KU minus the 5. Jake, to you on this one.
Is it true that Illinois' running back, Caden Fegan, is 6'3", 250? Did I read that right? Did somebody tell me that?
250?
Yeah, I read 250's a lot,
that's
man.
That's Deacon Hill back there.
I read that somewhere. I mean, if that's the case, I think that Illinois could have a nice day. I thought Altmaier, he's getting better. Defensively, Kansas really struggled against the run last year. Jalen Daniels tore apart Illinois in Lawrence last year, but that was a much healthier Jalen Daniels. Is that the case this year? We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, an underdog, a home team getting 5 points is. I took Illinois last year. That's my only.
As did I.
That's why I'm scared. That's why I'm a little scared on this.
Yeah, that's fair. So you are taking Kansas though.
No, I'm taking Illinois. I'm sticking with them.
Okay.
Bite me 2 years in a row, but I am sticking with Illinois.
Didn't Illinois have a big win at home a couple years ago, like on a field goal as a dog against somebody? Am I misremembering that?
Wisconsin a while ago.
A top 10 Wisconsin team.
Just to double check there, Jake, Caden Fegan is listed at 6'3", 250 pounds.
That's a horse.
He's a horse. I think he's going to be an absolute workhorse on Saturday.
You can catch Deacon Hill. He's not that fast.
Reese, your pick on this one.
I like where Parky's head's at. I think Kansas, there's too many weapons going on. Maybe defensively there might be some hiccups. I think going on the road too, but I think KU is just set up this year. They're going to be a good team in the Big 12. I think it's just a game where you just got to go in there and just handle yourselves. Don't turn the ball over too many times, and they'll be just fine. They can cover this number.
Perfect. I'm going to go with the Big 10 team here at home. I think Altmaier's gotten better. I think there's better weapons on the outside, maybe a couple more than Kansas can handle in the defensive secondary. Now, I don't think Illinois is back to its 2022 standard on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they've gotten better. So I'll go with the home team here with the points. Do I love it? No. Do I like either side? Not really either, that one. Now, let's go to our last big breakdown of the episode before we do 2 more quick ones. Tennessee, North Carolina State, neutral site. Again, No one really knows why we do this kind of thing, but it's just money for more people who don't matter in the college football world. Nico looked impressive. Grayson in that offense did not last week. Let's talk about it. Reese, when you're looking at this one, what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously it's Nico Emiliava. It's what is this guy going to be like? It's so many guys have him as potentially the best quarterback in college football. And I mean, that's pretty early to say, especially after week 1. He did have a hell of a bowl game last year, but he is the dude. Like if he's on, this offense is going to be so fun to watch this year. If you're a Volunteer fan, Boise State, Dave Dorn, like, I mean, that defense is going to be stingy throughout the year too. But I just think, I mean, Iowa's defense was solid as hell too. And look what Nico did last year. So I had a lot more faith in this guy. I know it's crazy because it is so early, but the dude is he's calm. He's composed. He's making good reads. He's not doing anything crazy. He's not trying to be a hero, trying to do too much. And it's also, I mean, Western Carolina last week, I don't think many people thought they were going to give NC State the fits they did. And again, don't overreact to week 1, but you can make observations that maybe NC State didn't have the right game plan right away. Maybe they were looking ahead to this game. Maybe they're going to have a better idea what they want to do. But I just think Tennessee is a little more well put together in this spot. I think NC State just has some more question marks. And I get some stuff figured out with Grayson McCall. But I'm going to do lean Tennessee in this spot and just a better quarterback.
Parks, up to you.
Yeah, I would be genuinely shocked in this game if Grayson McCall drops back another 40 times. Both quarterbacks last week, including Western Carolina, dropped back 40 times. It was just an air raid show. And that's really why I think they got off to a slow start. I expect them to run the ball a little bit more. However, on the other side of things, I don't think NC State defended the run very well last week at all. They allowed 6.4 yards per carry. I think that exposes you in some spots with a running quarterback like Nico can do. Then that opens up the pass game. So I really think Tennessee can go to a neutral site, if they want to call it that, and really open one up. I just think this Tennessee team has too much offensive firepower. Nico's going to be too much to handle for the Wolfpack.
Jake, down to you.
I think this is easily the best defensive line I think Grayson McCall has seen in his long tenured career.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even in question. I'm just really interested to see, man, because sometimes he looked okay last week, and then there were a couple of throws he just looked like this might be a little too much. Concepcion, his favorite target's going to have to be the best player on the field if they have any shot in this game. I'm surprised the number is where it is. We'll get to that later. But NC State also lost its middle linebacker to a targeting call early in the game. That, he's the signal caller. He was the guy wearing the communications on his helmet. So maybe that had something to play with the defensive struggles. But at the same time, I think that Tennessee defense is going to be too good for NC State. And I haven't even mentioned Tennessee's offense. I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple notes down here. Like Grayson and Casey Concepcion connected late, and it started to click really kind of late in that game. And you could tell how good Concepcion is as a receiver and how nice it is to have a guy like that on the edge that McCall can get the ball to. Okay, Jordan Waters, like, we're looking at the running back room. Let's get going a little bit, right? Like, you're going to have to go against a good defensive front. And a Tennessee defense last year, I feel like, was underrated and feels comfortable to be that good again this year. Jordan Waters is a good running back. The issue becomes if they can't respect McCall in the passing game, why would they respect anything else? Like, they're going to load the box. It's going to get tough for McCall. They're going to bring a lot of pressure. Run game is going to become hard to come by. One thing I also wrote down is Nico arm and legs this week. Like, he just slung it around the yard last week because they can out athlete Chattanooga. Can you do the same here? They're going to spread you out on offense. It's what they do. They'll go sideline to sideline and vertically. NC State without a Peyton Wilson like they had the last couple of years, a middle linebacker, quarterback, and a defense, and now the athletes has got to stay up to beat with this offense in Tennessee because it gets nasty and they scheme guys open better than anybody in the country in some aspects. But if Nico uses his legs as well and this guy gets 50, 60 yards rushing and a score, this could get out of hand. And I want NC State to be good. I have them in my ACC title. I think they're good enough. But if it's not clicking and you have to do it in this situation, a team feeling that good about themselves, right? Like, don't overreact. Reese has been saying this. Don't overreact, but make observations. My observation is that NC State's not ready for a game like this early in the year. 7.5 is the number. Where are we at on all of this? Jake, 7.5.
Tennessee. I had not even second thought.
Yep.
I think one thing we kind of underplayed is we got to talk about NC State's going to be ready to go. Like, they're so well coached in these games, so they'll get theirs a little bit. But I do think there's too much offensive firepower. Brew McCoy, expect him to get 1 or 2 that game. So give me Tennessee 35-24 on the road here in a neutral site game.
Reese, down to you.
Remind that number. I think Tennessee does cover. I don't think it's by a lot. I think they either they get the hook. I think it's like a 28-20 or it's like a 30-20 type of game. Like I think it's
we're just playing.
they
the
don't
8.
handle them, but they just cover them. Yeah.
So if you're wrong,
get-
you're really not that wrong.
Is
what
Reese
I'm trying to get
Vegas?
out of this.
Reese is Vegas.
I'm
the
going to go
number.
all the way across the board here with Tennessee. Again, I'm not playing hero this week and just trying to get you guys wins. I'll fall on the sword altogether here. We're going to go clean sweep across the board. Again, I just think it's too early for a game like this where NC State is. Dave Doran has guys ready. I'm sure they'll look better than a week ago. It's just the offense and the mismatches in some certain spots makes things really, really tough. Two more
That
things
does
to
make
get
me
to.
uncomfortable. That makes me uncomfortable. I will put that forward because
We've done
NC
that
State is
twice.
exactly the team now that Tennessee, we would have 4 T's across the bet board, and NC State is that team that would blow that shit up.
Absolutely. It's a weird spot for me. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. And Jake was like crazy comfortable with it. So blame him if it gets to that point. Two more games we want to touch on just because they're going to be on our TVs. And I'm sure you're going to want to pay attention to them across the country. Clemson, Appalachian State. Clemson, I mean, we had week 1 issues against Georgia, who's obviously an elite football team. App, who's picked to win the Sun Belt in a lot of aspects and gives teams notoriously gives Power 4 programs a problems. North Carolina, we're looking at you. We're looking at Texas A&M. We're looking at Michigan in the past. I mean, we can go down the list. This team gives people problems nonstop. Now this line's at 17.5. The Mountaineers roll into Death Valley 2.0. Like what? Just I know Reese doesn't like calling Clemson
They're
Death
just
Valley.
copying everything. Death Valley,
Richard,
Memorial Stadium.
not.
Get your own shit,
It's
Clemson.
tough. Jake, let's talk on this one a little bit, as I know you might have some Clemson opinions. And to be honest with you, I have a little app fandom in me, so I don't want to spoil the review here.
Here's before we pick. I mean, I think I saw 17 today, but we got 17.5 because that
Point
greatly
17.5, Jacob.
That a half is going to be big.
Line 17.5, Jake. Read the screen, bud.
I listen, I knew exactly how the game was going to go last week. Me and Parks told you that, how Clemson and Georgia was going to go. It
Almost hit the nail on the head. Literally almost guessed the score.
didn't alter my opinion about this team one way or the other. There was a lot of people going on here, saying Cade Klubnik's no good, this and that. I'm like, what surprised you about that game that you didn't already know about Clemson? Unless you thought Clemson was actually going to be a top 5 team in college football this year, in which I don't. That being said, this is going to be a bounce back game for them. I don't think App State's defense is very good. I like Joey Aguilar. I think they'll be able to score points, but I'm trusting Dabo to get this right. I'll lay the 17.5. That's fine at home. App State's got to worry about Liberty in a couple weeks. I think that's a bigger game for them than this one.
They ain't worried about no Liberty. Parks, to you.
Yeah, I think as bad as the game went for Clemson towards the end, they did compete really early, limited Carson Beck, got their stops. I think they can have more long-standing stops like that against an App State team that's still pretty good, but you're asking a lot of Mekhi Jackson against that defensive front. Dabo's always got a good defense floating out there. It's just whether Garrett Riley, again, we're asking the question if he can open it up. And by means of opening up against App State, you should hand the ball to Phil Maffa, and he's got to get going way better than he did last week. Granted, he's facing a much better defense, but 16 carries for 59 yards last week against the number 1 defense in the country. So be it. Now, don't go away from it. Give him the ball 20 times, let him go for 150 and score 3 times or 2 times, and just kind of sneak your way through a win, because this is a greasy little G5 team that can turn your season upside down pretty quickly. But I think Clemson gets it done, and Cade Klubnik finally stops the public beheading that's been going on with his name in people's mouth.
Reese, to you.
I think Parks makes some great points. That defense was solid, in that first half of that game. I think App State's also a hell of a team. Like you just talked about, looking at you, North Carolina, looking at you, Texas A&M, and Michigan. I don't know if they're going to go and win this game, but if you're going to give me 17.5, I'll take App State to cover this number. I think they're just going to go in there. They're just going to be stingy. They're not going to roll over and die. I mean, the reason why this team was picked to win the Sun Belt, they're just going to be a good team, and they're not going to roll over. Like, they're not saying this is their Super Bowl, but you're going to Clemson, to their Death Valley in this state. I think they're going to be fired up, ready to go.
Absolutely. They're not looking forward to anything. This is the one they have circled on their schedule, Jacob. Plus the 17.5. Death taxes don't bet ATS against the Mountaineers at Power 4 locations.
Clemson against non-ACC teams last year gave up 17 to Charleston Southern, gave up 14 to Florida Atlantic, gave up 7 to South Carolina.
That's cool. App is better than all
That's
three
fine.
of
They
those
can give
football
up
teams.
14. They're only going to score 28. We cover the number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last
All
game
right.
we're going to get to here and make an ATS board pick, and then we'll pick what ones go on the 5. We might do more than 5 this week. You never know. Boise State, Oregon. Boise State got an absolute slugfest and just shoot them out. Ashton Eugene went absolutely insane. And Oregon just played a weird style game that we're not used to seeing Oregon play against a good FCS Idaho
That's
team.
putting it lightly. They look like shit a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't.
a little bit.
I have
Wasn't
different
solid.
opinions on how
Wasn't their
Oregon
best.
is. I didn't move them at all. I just think it's week 1. They're playing a decent team. They're breaking in new things. Pieces on the offensive line weren't playing. I'll start on this one. Jeanty's going to have to be the man, the myth, the legend in this one for this one to happen, because I think Oregon is better on the defensive side of the ball than obviously what they saw against Georgia Southern, but that this Boise State front's ready for. So it's going to be a little bit tougher, and in an environment that they expect to be on upset of watch. They know how good Boise State is and the issues they can cause people, but this feels like a get right for Oregon. Boise State's defense isn't great. I don't think we thought it was going to be great before the year. It was kind of proven that way. Now we have Gabriel, whose completion percentage is super high. It's just not a vertical passing attack last week. They're still going to be really good. This feels like it might have Boise State, Washington vibes all over it from a season ago. I'll start here. I'll go Oregon, and I'll take them on the board.
Okay. I don't hate that, but I also want to give a quick shout out. I thought Maddox Matson was pretty impressive last week. Obviously, you don't hear much about him when your running back goes for 250 and 6 scores, but he was consistent throughout the day. He threw the ball well. And I think Oregon does get their first win against Boise State this week, but expect a little bit of a dogfight, maybe slower pace. I don't think Oregon's going to put up 60 on them by any means, but I get I do understand the scare here with giving up 45 to Georgia Southern, but that was literally just how the pace of the game went. I think by giving the ball to GT a bunch of times, you can slow it down. Maybe don't take as many deep shots because this Oregon defense can hurt you, but almost follow the Idaho game plan to stay competitive within this game. But I do think Oregon wins the matchup. The number is gross, but I do think Oregon covers it because they got to make a statement after all that's going on about last week. Jake.
Oregon.
Thanks, Jake.
Jordan Birch, Kamari Caldwell, that defensive line it's going to handle Ashton Jeanty just fine. I'm not worried about it. Dylan Gabriel was 41 of 49 last week and had some really good throws. I thought it was a weird anomaly game. Idaho had some trick plays.
Literally, both of their scoring plays were trick plays.
Yeah, I think that
double reverse
Oregon,
tight end delay.
Oregon's gonna be buttoned up, especially on offense, and they're gonna be ready to go. And high flying, I think Oregon wants to get in that high flying matchup if Boise State really wants to play that game.
I don't think Boise State wants to play that game with Oregon.
No, Reese.
No.
I think you had a good point. Like that Washington game last year was like, oh, Boise State maybe, but I don't think it's going to be like that. Give me Oregon to cover the number.
Yeah. All across the board, Oregon gets picked here. That's all of our downs. Hey, I think we have 4
We're
that
fine,
were all
Parks.
across
We're fine.
State, Auburn, Tennessee, and Oregon. All of us picked all 4 of them. Feast or famine, it feels like this week
I
for
love
the
it.
fellas there.
We're going to be
Appreciate
great.
everybody joining into the previews. It's time to do the betting side of this thing. Jake was very happy with himself last week with the dog's dog. That's great and all, but we're going to start with the best bet. We're going to start with Parks, your best bet of the week, and your thoughts on it is.
Yeah, the best bet, I had to do a lot of thinking because there's so many good non-conference matchups this week, but there's some greasy little lines out there. I really do believe in taking a lot away from Oklahoma State's performance against a very good FCS school in their run game and how good that defensive front was. So I really love Oklahoma State to cover that 7.5 against Arkansas. I think Boone Pickens is going to be ready to go. They know that this is going to be a huge win when it comes going down the line, building momentum into your conference schedule. So give me Oklahoma State at home. That's 7.5. I love them to cover that one handily.
Reese, your favorite one of the weekend is?
Yeah, it's a game we already talked about too. And you guys said there was a lot of points the team was going to score against good defense, but I like Texas. I think that line you're going to give me 7. I think if it was 8.5 or 9, that'd be a little more lenient on it. But I think Texas just got too much going on offensively. And I think, like I mentioned before, Michigan just doesn't know their identity yet on offense, I think. And if they can't run the ball, I think it's going to be a good day to be a Longhorn fan. I don't care if they go on the road to the Big House. They went and beat Nick Saban last year in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I think that's probably a harder place to play. So I like Texas in the spot.
Jake.
I have bets in on both Oregon and Tennessee already. I'll leave it at that. I'm feeling very comfortable with both of those spreads.
All right, we appreciate you really breaking down your best bet of the week rather than
appreciate
telling
that,
us
Jake.
what I said,
We already did. I don't know.
All right,
Do I
that's
need
fair.
to reiterate kind of what
He's got a 1A and 1B before you go, Jordan.
I will say?
Hey,
I will say if
he
you're
doesn't
gonna
have mine.
play,
Here comes
if you're
pick 3.
playing, if you're playing the Tennessee NC State game, I'm comfortable with it getting up to 9. I really am. I think Tennessee's just loaded on offense, and I really think Grayson McCall is going to struggle. That's
Cue the Dave Dorn, tell him to kiss my ass clip that
Yeah.
I'm going to make with this
Steve
combo.
it's fine, Dave.
Extreme possibility here. I'm going to do a little G5 action. How about Memphis minus 18.5 versus Troy?
That's a great fucking pick. I was just about to say that one too. That's
this
a great
number
pick.
could be 21, and I'm not sure I care. Troy, I understand that. Hey, little bounce back, right? We get beat at Nevada. Now we got to play another good team. Like,
That's
let's
a
get
whole
back
new
to it.
team, though.
It's just not the Troy team you're used to seeing. It's
Right.
not going to stay that way. Memphis bump up in level of competition this week. You got to beat the tar out of them again. Team's too talented on the offensive side of the ball. Troy struggles in a lot of aspects. They might win by 40.
I got to plug. We'll give somebody else a shout out just because everybody always listens to. You guys got to go listen to Group of Five Guys podcast. They cover obviously everything G5, which is very much needed. So I appreciate those guys. They do call-ins before and after games, and they got this Troy fan, man. I'll play it to you guys after this because it is hilarious, and he's just effing everything. Those guys give a shit. Like those Troy fans, they give a shit.
Yeah, all 7 of them.
They're down bad right now.
Troy,
Last
Alabama.
week they got beat to their knees last week.
Can't really
life is
blame them. Their program got gutted a little bit. So
Yeah.
Life is a
Poor
G5
guys.
program in modern day college football. Now let's go to Dog's Dog. Jake, you were feeling good about yourself. You want to start it off?
All right. Well, I'm going to
What's
preface
the
that.
standard last week? Hang on.
I did not have them.
Florida plus 2.5. My Dog's Dog did not hit. Just throwing that
Stanford,
out.
I had
there.
no
Cardinal.
right winner.
The Cardinal, they didn't outright win, but they covered. Stanford did.
Okay.
So Reese is up.
Hey, you had
sat on
9.5
the
on that.
I would have, hey boys, gave JP an outright winner, and Vanderbilt just repeatedly told me he didn't want
And
to take it.
yeah, that's true. That is,
Yeah, but
that
I
is-
didn't even
that
have
did
one.
happen.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I didn't have one. I didn't get
Well,
one
it's a
in.
good thing you didn't have one because I
Good thing I
gave
gave-
Wyoming.
Good thing I gave one to you, and they outright won. So, anyways, since you guys don't let this count, I'm just gonna say it already. I took Washington State as a underdog in the favorite on Sunday, and they're now a 2-point favorite. So that would have been my Dog's Dog. But we'll
Good job,
move
Jake.
on. I'm going to take Northern Illinois plus the 28 going into South Bend against Notre Dame. DeKalb is not that far away from South Bend. Actually, it's like an hour and a half drive. Maybe we'll travel a little bit there. I think Notre Dame, you're catching them on a really big high note this year. I think Northern Illinois is going to run the football, slow it down. They just got to give me 10 points in the first half. Give me 10 points in the first half, and I think they will cover this number. I've even seen 28.5 in some spots.
All right, that's disgusting, but I get it. We're just playing for the one.
You want a
Reese.
grosser one? I'll give you Bowling Green. I'll give you Bowling Green plus 34.5 at Penn State.
See, I thought about that one
thought
too.
about that before,
I
too.
also it's the week of the MAC, fellas, the return of the MAC. I like Western Michigan against
It's
Ohio
getting out of
State.
hand.
30.
Well, stop giving
That'd
other
be-
picks.
Dude, that'd
Stop
be a
giving
great
other
TikTok.
picks.
That'd be a great TikTok shape. Return of the Mac, and you just put all of us taking freaking the
Return of
plus
the Mac.
34 plus 28.
Yeah, give me Bowling Green plus the 34.5 at Penn
How
State.
about let's cook up a little parlay. We got like all alternate lines. We got Northern Illinois, we got Bowling Green, and we've got Western Michigan.
Akron. Doesn't Akron have one too?
I think
Akron's got a big-
Akron's got somebody on the schedule. Hey, they fought last week. Absolutely clawed their way to.
They
I
battled.
think they covered.
This is
They only lost
disgusting.
by.
I'm
They
pretty
back
sure this is all
six,
coming
I
from the
think.
same guy that told me the MAC was light years behind college football last year.
Kind of is though. Think about it on the national scale.
Hence their
We're
35
cooking
point
up
spreads.
a parlay that he
What
wants
do
me to
we-
put my hard-earned money on after telling me that they're light
Whoa,
years
whoa,
behind
whoa,
the game.
boys.
Look at him.
He found something.
No, he doesn't even
Wait,
have
now
a
his
mic.
He's just
So it
microphone's
doesn't matter
yapping.
what
He
he
just
Now his
says.
unplugged
microphone's
his own mic.
Something happened there.
Look at his face.
Reese, Reese, you go ahead.
While he figures that out, we'll talk about that. You boys might laugh. Okay, he's back. You boys might laugh at me for this one, but this is gonna be a lot of fun for this game for me because I'm going to this. How about Syracuse plus 2.5 with Georgia Tech? You're gonna give me a home dog.
Bad.
I know
like that
Syracuse
pick.
struggled against the run last week, but Elijah Robinson, the guy comes over from Texas A&M. He brought Fidel Diggs with him. They figured it out in the second half. I think they'll have a better game plan. It's also, Haynes King, he's looked good these first 2 weeks, but we know there's the good and the bad version. I feel like Robinson and Fran Brown, they're going to scheme something up that we might be able to see bad Haynes King. And it's also, offensively, I know they played Ohio last week, but dude, McCourt was giving it around to everybody. You had Gadsden getting them all. You had Pena, you had Haynes, you had Meeks, you had the Quinn Allen. Like everybody on the offense was getting love. It wasn't just a one guy figuring everything out.
Look at Reese.
I think they'll be able to give it
name
all
dropping
around
his
everybody.
boys. Name dropping his boys.
You know their first names too? I can do that.
little Q's, big
Yeah,
Q's fan.
He's got the shirt on too, but betting against Brett Key as a ranked team when he's the ranked team killer, fair enough.
Yeah, he's usually this is the time to get him. That was going to be my pick, but I knew you were going to take it, Reese. So
It was going to be one of your 16 picks you already gave us, Jake.
Hey,
don't
boys,
put me on
throw
it.
it in the
though.
parlay.
I still got the Ramblin' Wreck, baby. Ramblin' Wreck's gonna roll down.
Akron, Rutgers, lines at 22.
Such a greasy,
You're telling me.
little pick.
You're telling him
Akron.
no? Come on.
Akron's getting on the bus. Getting on the bus. They're not heading
Who's
to
Toledo
Poughkeepsie.
got? Let's
They're
look them
not-
up too.
Who's scheduling games at Akron or choosing violence at
Uh,
Ohio
got
State at
UMass.
Rutgers?
They need
Never mind.
money.
Toledo's got UMass. Their favorite 18.5. We don't want it.
They need
That's how you pay
money
for half
and
the
to undo their rebrand. Shout out
Yes,
Akron.
also true. Bring back the kangaroo. I'll end this dog segment with another double-digit dog.
Oh
I'm going
my
to take
God.
App. I'll take App plus 17. Now, some people might be thinking, hey, Clemson just gets right. It got weird last week. That team
A
was
little
way
bit of a
better than
homer
them.
pick there, Jordan.
That's
A little
fine.
bit of a homer pick.
That's fine. These
I
guys
had
stay
one
in
too.
football and never quit. I'm taking a plus of 17.
Okay, fair enough.
In the
I like it.
in the words of shout out Bud Elliott, I can get really sick here, boys. I've been really teetering on this one. I really hope it gets to 14, but I didn't really want to be that disgusting. How about Louisiana Monroe hosting
Dude, I looked
UAB?
at that one too. They're disrespecting. They disrespect General Booty.
Hey,
They are bad.
Vegas does.
I like what I
better
saw
reason.
last week. I think there are
They
a
played
lot of people.
Jackson State. Yeah, you liked what you saw.
There are a lot of people in Birmingham who want Trent Dilfer gone. This is a prime opportunity to get him out of town.
This is
I like
gross.
the Warhawks in the All Blacks. Did you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Bringing out the All Blacks. I don't think they're losing. I don't.
Where
think,
else
they're-
are you
let
going to
alone
find guys
cover.
talking about ULM plus 14 against UAB? You're not going to get
Honestly.
it anywhere else, folks.
The tens of people in attendance are going to be ruckus in that uniform matchup. It just was that Malone Stadium. Going to
Yep.
be
Yeah.
absolutely
Are
insane.
they wearing all black?
Yeah, they're
JP
wearing
not
all
standing
black.
up for his own program. Unbelievable.
I took the under on them, if you remember. I said it was going to take some time. I don't think Vincent and that
Off
school's
to a
ready.
bad start.
They mass exodus in the portal, and it didn't feel like they added anything to really supplement that. But appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been an awesome week. We've had more technical difficulties in this last hour and 10 minutes than we had probably
Thanks,
the
Best
last
Buy.
4 months. It's mostly just Jake's fault.
It
So
was
if you
Jake.
feel like the
Hey,
podcast
we're only
stinks
human.
or the YouTube stinks a little bit, it's because Jake had some a multitude of issues.
Hit
So
the subscribe button. We literally have been
Absolutely.
at $4.99 for 5 days. So if somebody could do it, throw the boys a little love
Somebody.
and hit the 500. That would
Absolutely.
be big time.
Reese, what should they do to all of it? As Parks just said,
Like, comment, subscribe, hit it all, hit the follow button, get another friend, hit the follow button too. Not going to hurt you.
perfect. Parks, we have some partners that we're pretty good friends with and love the stuff they put out. What should they know about No Rivals?
Shout out No Rivals. Good teams coming soon. Mizzou, Eastern Carolina. Good brands coming into the mix. Added La Tech the other day. A couple of beautiful hats for the dogs. So
Yeah.
head on down to Ponchachula's in your No Rivals cap. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. Shout out to No Rivals. Great partners.
It's going to be an absolute blast. Ready for week 2, ready for a little bit of hate week. It's going to get stressful as the days go on for Parks as they play Colorado and me and Jake as we learn if we want to be friends.
I got the
Saturday
preview.
Battle it out.
JP didn't let
Cy-Hawk.
me plug it. JP didn't let me plug it, but check out the
What?
Colorado preview. Husker Nation is dominating the views once again. Sorry, gentlemen, your hour-long movie is getting decimated by Husker Nation again. So that is just how it is, Jake.
It's
Why
just how it
am
works
I?
sometimes. What are you worried
Why
about, Jake?
Why am I nervous? I was supposed to be nervous. What am I supposed to be nervous for?
That's true. There's not a lot of pressure on a team that doesn't win a lot of football games. Hey, Jake, take us away.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
You gonna
fans.
fire back?
I will be better next week. And for that case, let's enjoy the weekend. And as always, we
Go
got to
Hawks.
play it.